I'm glad to know with the world the way it is right now that I'll be all right. You know, I still might have to fight somebody over some toilet paper now. Come on, woo. You know, old toilet paper got a little scarce there for a minute, boy. Come on. Nah, I'm just kidding. That right there shows you about the way this world is right now. Got a pandemic going on, and the first thing they thought about was grabbing all the toilet paper. That right there lets you know they don't know where their food comes from. Come on. What's going on, homesteaders? What's happening? It's another Talk About It Tuesday, so let's talk about it. Well, the goats are on the homestead. Boy, I'm happy about that. Got them this past Friday here. They showed up. Ended up with a buck and 2 does. One of them's pregnant. I got 2 boars and a Kiko, and I got a dapple coming in about 3 weeks. Pretty happy about it. Been a pretty exciting week here on the homestead, getting some new life out here. And couldn't be happier about it. Been doing a lot of building projects here lately, though. Quite a few building projects lately, and it's been challenging. It's been challenging. It is hard right now to build with all the shortages going on and the prices of everything. So I figured that's what we'll talk about on this Talk About It Tuesday is, what do you do? What do you do whenever you're in the middle of a pandemic, but you got things that you need to do? You need to build. That fence about broke me. You know, putting up that fence, but I just had to adapt and overcome, and that's kind of what you got to do nowadays. I've never used T-posts a day in my life. Never really thought that they was that strong and everything. Didn't really know much about them. Well, I used T-post on this one because I couldn't afford to buy wood posts to go all the way around like I typically do. So I ended up running a post in between every 2 T-posts on this goat enclosure that I built last week, and it ended up working out great. So I'll be using T-posts from now on. I kind of enjoyed it, and it's a lot easier than a fence post, honestly. But I didn't know. But this pandemic kind of forced me to try something new. And when you're in a situation like this where there's shortages and prices are crazy and the world's going insane, you got to be willing to try new things. You got to think outside the box. You got to repurpose and reuse. It's important, you know. Homesteading is all about being able to adapt. Adapt with your surroundings, adapt with whatever comes your way. If you've been homesteading any time at all, then you know this. But if you want to become a homesteader, let me tell you, it's hard work. It's not an easy lifestyle, but it's a rewarding lifestyle. There's nothing better than growing your own food and raising your own animals to process and knowing exactly where your food comes from start to finish. And you know, you hear it all the time. Oh, it tastes better. Well, let me tell you, it does. It definitely does. And it makes it all worth it. But 2020 has been a challenge, to say the least. And no matter how prepared you think you are, you really ain't. But it does put it in perspective, and it's had me thinking why I'm out here building all these projects. You know, I did a shelter for the goats. I did a paddock for the goats there, and paddock cost me quite a bit because I didn't have fence laying around. You know, I did have some poles, but nowhere near enough, so I wasn't prepared. But I am now. I have extra fence and some extra T-post and poles. I'm ready to be able to add another section as soon as I need to be able to get some more animals on here just in case it gets a little bit crazier. That, and you got to be willing to think outside the box and to use other things for different purposes than what it's intended for. See that right there? That right there's a shed that I got for free. I moved another guy's shed across this property, and he had that one. He didn't want it. In my opinion, it's way too small to really store anything, so I'm turning that into the chicken coop for the chickens I got coming here in about 2 weeks. Putting a run off the back of it there. That'll be a video. that I'm working on right now. I started building the run that's going to connect to the goat fence. It's going to be a pretty cool little video. Y'all check it out. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when it comes out. And don't forget to subscribe, come on. And share it on your social media. Helps us out a lot here. Sure do appreciate it. But, back to what I was saying. You got to be thinking about repurposing stuff. Using the material that you already got on your homestead. You know, every place has got a bunch of stuff laying around and it's just rotting and going to waste. Well, you know, it probably can be used for something else. Just got to think outside the box a little bit. And you know, I'm getting better and better at it the more and more time that I'm on the homestead. You know, I used to be very wasteful, just throw stuff away and not think much about it. But ever since I decided to adapt this lifestyle, everything has a new purpose to me. I see one thing and I'm like, well, that could be this. And that right there is what you got to do in times like this. You got to give multiple uses for one item. Just because you bought it for one thing doesn't mean that's all it's got to be. And as long as you start thinking like that, you can make it through something like this. But I don't really have a whole lot to talk about today. I just, you know, I misfired up Friday because I was getting ready for the goats coming and stuff. And I wanted to make sure that I got to talk about it Tuesday out there. And, you know, with all this building and how much money everything's costing and all the different crazy ways that I'm going about pulling it off because the chickens are coming. The goats were coming, you know. That's already in motion. So I have no choice but to be ready. But boy, I tell you what, my accounts ain't ready. So, I've been being resourceful and using what I got and thinking outside the box and making it happen. And that's kind of what you got to do right now in 2020. You got to make it happen. So, I think I'm going to get off here, but hey, make sure you exercise your right to vote. I don't get into politics on this, but it's coming up here real soon and it doesn't really matter what side you're on. Go exercise your right as an American to place your vote on who you want. So come on, let's go homesteading.